This week represents the start of the second half of the program. To continue enhancing our awareness of unhelpful habits of the mind, we will discuss how or why we came to have the unhelpful habits we discussed last session. As previously discussed, usually our minds run on automatic pilot, making judgments, interpretations, running storylines, all typically happening without our awareness. However, our thoughts have a powerful effect on how we feel emotionally and physically, and also on what we do or do not do. Thus, this tendency to overlay the bare facts of a situation with our interpretations and ensuing emotional reactions can lead to increased pain. People who have chronic pain and the associated stress of chronic pain often have a lot of negative automatic thoughts that are typically directed toward or about themselves. Although these thoughts often have a grain of truth to them, which is why they are typically so believable, reflecting on the potential origins of these automatic thoughts may help us to accept them and make a choice about them. For example, you may have developed overly negative or unrealistic and negative core beliefs such as I am defective or I am useless. Once a negative stream of commentary starts up in our mind, we often don't catch it as it is happening because our minds are usually running on autopilot. This negative stream then builds momentum, and the stream can quickly turn into a raging river torrent. Spinning off the negative core beliefs are more negative intermediate beliefs and more negative automatic thoughts. And so now even unrelated future events are also interpreted in this destructive, negative torrent of thought. To facilitate a discussion on the how and why we have developed unhelpful habits, we will use the image of a tree in session to illustrate the role our automatic thoughts, intermediate or midway beliefs, and core beliefs play in driving automatic responses. We will also use the tree image to visualize how the unhelpful habits of the mind we previously discussed might have developed over time. By reflecting on the origins of the unhelpful habits of our minds, we may then perceive how negative thoughts and feelings have put the blinders on us, so to speak, narrowing our viewpoint and closing us off from a vast openness of possible ways of responding to experience. It is liberating to realize that our thoughts are just thoughts, not facts, and we can learn to watch them come and go without getting hooked by them. Over our past 4 weeks together, we have been learning to train the mind to recognize automatic patterns of automatic thought through discussion and mindfulness exercises that intentionally hold the breath or body as our anchor of attention. As we have learned in doing this practice, a central component is noticing when our mind wanders from our anchor, whether it be to thinking, daydreaming, attending to physical sensations, or feelings. Our task up to now has been to label it, and then gently but firmly return our attention back to our anchor with patience and kindness toward ourselves. For example, you may have noticed a pattern emerging during your mindfulness exercises in which you find your mind being pulled in a similar way or direction each time, whether it be to a memory, sensation, thought, or feeling, or perhaps to ideas about how we ourselves or others or the world should be, ought to be, or must be. Oftentimes, and especially when suffering from chronic pain, the power of interpretation takes effect, and these thoughts become negative, overly strict or harsh, or distorted in some way. And what happens then when we have this tendency to become hooked on the same thing time after time? As we may have learned from logging our pleasant and unpleasant experiences, what typically happens is one of 3 things. We daydream or numb out in one form or another, or if we like it, we hold on, crave it, and want it to last. And if we don't like it, we fight against it and push it away. When we pause, however, and don't spin out with our automatic thinking, Another possibility arises. We have the choice to respond by allowing whatever is present to be present, to simply hold it in our awareness, and respond with non-judgmental acceptance. This idea of bringing space to difficult thoughts, emotions, and sensations, of opening to them and allowing them to be present, is radically different from our typical automatic response patterns. To better perceive these unhelpful habits of the mind, this week you can watch an instructional video on other mental techniques to shift your relationship with your thoughts, to step out of such thought streams, and to see thoughts as just thoughts. Not necessarily the truth, and not necessarily needing our immediate action. Building on this awareness, you can also listen to a guided audio that trains us to work with difficulties within the technique of the mindfulness practice itself, as a means to actively work toward acceptance of pain and life's challenges. We will also listen in session to a guided audio on silence, as a means to experientially learn what it is like to not fill up the space, and to pause, and simply be with experience as it is. We will then reflect together on our experiences with this exercise. Together, these mindfulness practices open up space so that we can then choose how to respond in a skillful way rather than react in an automatic fashion. In this way, acceptance is an active process. It is not resignation. We are not pushing away, holding on to, avoiding, or changing our experience. Rather, we stay with our moment-to-moment experience, without needing it to be different from the way it is. We let our experience be our experience, noticing it, mindfully observing it, breathing with it, and, little by little, accepting it.